What's up, people? You're listening and watching the RAPS podcast presented by HipHoopJunkies.com and HoopHeadsNorth.com. Hoops Talk out of Halifax. My name is Romy Aquino. I have with me
Jean-Francois. We the North. We the North.
And
Yui Sampang of the hashtag RTZs and the Kyle Lowry hashtag NBA ballots.
Hashtag NBA ballot, baby.
we did it. We did it. Canada did it. The RAPS fan did it. Justin Bieber didn't do it, I don't think, but it's Kyle Lowry is an NBA All-Stars. What's up?
He did it, but he didn't do it, right?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Same with Drake on Instagram. He didn't tweet, but he Instagrammed a photo and said, it was an awareness post, vote Kyle Lowry, but neither his or Bieber's were actually official ballots.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, the breaking news is Kyle Lowry was voted in as an NBA All-Star starter, along with John Wall, Pau Gasol, LeBron James, and Carmelo Anthony, and he'll be in New York, the third Raptor to ever do it. First off with Vince, and then with Chris Bosh back in, I think, 2007, and now Kyle Lowry this year. I mean, we did it. Did you have a feeling that he was going to get in?
Yeah, based on the tweet from the editor of Hoop Mag yesterday, that basically confirmed it. Once I saw that, and it was basically a vague tweet, but when you look at the numbers, Kyle Lowry was the only one that fit the description. It was basically like a first-time All-Star will, overtake a multi-year All-Star for a spot in the All-Star game, right? And then when you look at the votes, and it was the only one that could possibly even be, in the running, even though Kyle was like 100,000 votes behind the last All-Star voting measurements, which was like January 8th, based on the campaign and how hardcore everybody was voting in Canada and Raptors fans across the world. They definitely put it into overdrive and just got past them. It's pretty crazy, man. 805,000 votes to like 789,000 was what Dwayne Wade had. So not only made up that 100,000 that he was behind, but then overtook him as well, which is pretty impressive in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, there was definitely a big push within those from the 8th there. He had like the Prime Minister obviously having a big push, and then and the Raptors PR and Matt Devlin had a big push on there as well. I mean, obviously with the Raptors fans as well. On Twitter, but it's pretty crazy.
Big time. That accounted for like 50,000 votes. The Matt Devlin hashtag NBA ballot. There's a measurement out there that basically kind of showed that it compared John Wall, Kyle Lowry, and Dwayne Wade's NBA ballot in tweets, hashtag NBA ballot tweets, over like a span of like a 3-week period. And that day, that January 8th day or whatever, when he first said that on air, it spiked to like 50,000 tweets for Kyle Lowry, hashtag NBA ballot on that day alone. So that was pretty impressive right there.
I think there's like a Pavlov's dog thing going on now. Like every time you hear the name Kyle Lowry, you'll think hashtag NBA ballot. I need Cheetos. Hashtag NBA ballot. That one night, and then I think he must have taken some heat for it or something, because the next night he didn't do it at all.
Right.
And after that, it kind of evened out. But there was that one night I remember. I forget who it was against, but yeah.
Yeah, the ESPN people in the States were basically saying that TSN was a national broadcast and that they were criticizing Matt Devlin because, Canada, Raptors is Canada's team, and so you're influencing a whole country. It's not the same as in the United States where if, like, the local telecasters or broadcasters do it. It's only affecting that particular market, and it's like, give me a break. Like, yeah, sure, TSN is technically a national broadcast, but guess what? Like, they're the only team in Canada. What do you expect?
They're the only team in Canada, and hey, we're voting hard for an American on a Canadian team.
Exactly. Not to mention that
he's deserving as hell.
Right. And not to mention that Canada has a population of like about 35 million. Well, if you combine the populations of like New York and LA, that's like 35 million right there.
Right there,
yeah. And
get out of here.
And Melo's a starter.
Yeah.
Does he deserve to be?
Yeah, I mean that's
right. Whatever. That's a whole other conversation. But.
Big time. Yep.
The Devlin thing, I mean, it did kind of go overboard during that broadcast, but I mean, it was all good fun. I know there was a whole thing about like Drake. So Drake did eventually endorse Kyle Lowry, because some people were saying like he didn't tweet anything, and
he didn't tweet anything. It was just Instagram. It was one Instagram post.
When was it though? When was that posted?
Maybe like a week and a half ago.
Okay. Yeah, because people were following on Twitter, and they were wondering if there was some beef with Drake and the Toronto front office over something else. But right. So I guess he did endorse it then.
Yeah, he did endorse it, but like we talked about at the beginning, both he and Bieber's didn't count as official ballots. I don't know. I just found that weird. Like they have no problem promoting themselves, right? And if it was themselves in that situation, like they're not going to mess up the tweet and not use hashtag NBA ballot. Like they're going to make sure it's done correctly. So I just found it a little curious that you have like the two biggest pop stars, you know what I mean, music stars in Canada, arguably, right, at least right now, tweet and or get on Instagram, and it doesn't even count as an official ballot anyway. I just found that really, really peculiar.
Bieber forgot his roots, man.
Forgot something. In spite of them, Mr.
We got it done.
We all did it. It's pretty impressive. And it goes to show, too, in terms of how basketball has grown in popularity in Canada. Because like 90% of Raptors fans are Canadian. So the fact that they were like Canada's grown to such a popular sport that we were able to vote one of the Raptors into the starting lineup for the All-Star game has been pretty impressive. Now that he got ahead of Dwayne Wade, do you think Dwayne Wade gets in at all as a reserve?
Him or Bosch? I don't. One of the two from the Heat are going to be on there, but I don't know. I really don't know. That's a great question, Romy. That's a great question. I think Bosch might get it, but he was injured for a stretch. I definitely think there's going to be someone on the Heat. I just don't know which of the two it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally say Bosch would get in over Wade, but and then obviously there's no Atlanta Hawks voted into the starting lineup, so we're gonna see.
What's the over under?
2 Hawks. I think there's going to be at least 2 Hawks, personally.
Yeah, there has to be.
Yeah, Millsap for sure. And then, I mean, you can Teague.
Either Teague
or Horford. Actually, Horford, yeah.
Yeah, see, and Horford's a former All-Star. Millsap was an All-Star last year, and Teague is probably...
He's primed.
Yeah, he's the engine.
He's about to be a snub that's going to be big in the second half of the season, right?
He's going to be the Kyle Lowry.
His coach is the East Coast, right? So Budenholzer is the coach, so hopefully, you know what I mean, he'll get some love, but we'll see.
I mean, that was Kyle Lowry last year, right? I mean, he was the biggest snub last year, and he got in. So maybe Teague will maybe he'll be snubbed this year, and then he'll be a starter next year. So it'll be interesting to see how kind of the reserves pan out. Obviously,
for that.
Yeah, I mean, Korver is even the conversation. You could even throw him in there.
Conversation, definitely. Yeah.
And then who else do we got on the East that should be in the reserves there?
Jimmy Butler, because he didn't get voted in.
Yeah, definitely Butler, yeah.
Jimmy will be in.
Any other Cavs you see?
I don't.
Yeah, it's hard.
And it could.
Injuries and record and
Yeah.
Based on statistics, yes, you can definitely make an argument for more Cavs, but based on record, you know what I mean? It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
And had the season started in January, 3 Pistons in the All-Star game. 3 Pistons.
Right.
And now there's probably not going to be any. That's probably good. Keep them hungry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What about Milwaukee? Any guys from Milwaukee you think they're going to get on the reserves?
I don't think so.
Probably not. I mean, they are a great surprise for sure, but I mean, just the Atlanta story is so much bigger.
Yeah. And they're spread, their numbers, like statistically, they're really spread. Like every guy on the teams, like the starters, they all seem to be averaging, like, you know what I mean? Like 15 points kind of thing, right? Like Antetokounmpo and Middleton and Knight and all those dudes all seem to be like averaging about the same amount of points, right? OJ Mayo stepping up lately, and they're all kind of it's a total team effort there, for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, another cool thing with the starters that when they announce both squads, it's gonna be the first time 2 brothers will be going head to head in the starting lineup. That's pretty impressive for a basketball family.
Yeah, really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, I say ISO everybody go past the 3-point arc and just let them go a couple possessions each in the post. Just
It'll happen. It'll happen.
A little fun, right?
Yeah, for sure. It'll happen.
I mean, obviously, good news for the Toronto Raptors to have Kyle Lowry voted in. We can quickly talk about the past few games. It's been kind of up and down, man. Like, and I mean, as much as we love Kyle Lowry, he's been looking pretty exhausted this past stretch of games. So let's start back. Let's just quickly rewind when they played Atlanta on the Friday night. That was poised to be a marquee game between kind of like 2 top teams in the East, and obviously Toronto had their number, 2-0 against them so far this season, but Atlanta was hot, and they didn't stop when they came into the ACC. So 110-89. Al Horford was big, Paul Millsap, Jeff Teague, the regular guys. It didn't look good for Toronto at all. Quick thoughts on that game, you guys?
It reminded me of the Spurs versus the Heat in the NBA Finals. It was like Spurs 2.0. Now, obviously, we know that Budenholzer has brought that Spurs offense and defensive mentality to the Hawks this year. But man, like what? As a basketball fan, just as a pure basketball fan, that was some beautiful basketball to watch in execution on both ends of the floor by the Atlanta Hawks that game.
And when you're watching it, you're like a Raptors fan, but you appreciate good basketball, right? And it's like, oh, too good, too good.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, though. And that's also a part of the thing. They've only lost 2 games now, and how many? Like 28 or 30? But they don't even
14-game winning streak right now, is it?
Yeah, they're like Ivan Drago, man. Like they're beating people and they don't even care. They're just doing it methodically, and they're not pumping their chest. They're just like, it's just another day. We play 48 minutes and get it done.
Next.
Yeah. Next.
So I mean, with Atlanta, do you guys see them as legitimate title contenders, or is it still too early to tell?
If they keep playing like this, I mean, we still have another half of a season, so anything could happen. But if they continue this style of play, and we're not expecting them to go on some crazy extra long winning streak. But if they play consistently, they're going to be a tough out for any team, Eastern Conference or Western Conference, because they just went on that West Coast trip and dummied all those teams at West. You know what I mean? So they're showing and proving that they can hang with the West Coast style of play as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors in an NBA season, right? Like it's so long. Like who knows? Like maybe later on they hit a rough patch and we could be saying, oh man, they peaked really early. What's happened? What happened to those Hawks? Or even one little injury throws off the rotations. even the Raptors look so good this year, and now all of a
Exactly.
sudden all these guys that were hitting threes can't hit jack. Like, maybe it's going to come back around where the Raptors get hot at the end of the season, and that could push you through a round in the NBA playoffs. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean we've always seen it too. Like a team that gets hot, like in that last month of the season, usually plays well throughout the playoffs. So I mean, like you said, like I mean, it's just a matter of runs and who gets hot. So I mean, we'll see how Atlanta does for the rest of the year. Next game was against the Pelicans. No Anthony Davis, no Drew Holiday. And it looked like a game that this would, going into it, you think Toronto would be able to handle. But they came on the losing end, 95-93. Tyreek Evans and Alexis Ajinça, former Raptor.
Ajinça, baby Shaq.
Yeah, I mean, Ajinça beat Toronto, like, I think it was mostly against, I don't think it was against JV, it was mostly against, like, Patterson and Hansbrough. So I don't know. I mean, it's just you watch this Raptors team and they've kind of lost their step. And like we were talking, I mean, Lowry looks exhausted. DeMar, I mean, he's kind of stepped up pretty quickly after being off for so long. But yeah, it was just that was a tough loss, I think. What did you guys think of New Orleans?
Yeah, difficult loss. You know, they had a bit of a break, and the Sunday afternoon game was like, okay, they'll kind of be ready to go and get this back on track. Maybe a team that they can start to roll against. With Anthony Davis out, it's like, okay, here's a prime opportunity to, like, get this W. But any given day in the NBA, if you don't bring your A game, you're going to get exposed, and that's unfortunately what happened. Now they're, struggling to kind of get wins together. And like you said, Kyle Lowry's just played so many minutes. They relied on him so much when DeMar was out kind of down the stretch. I really didn't give him a chance to, come out of the game. But what I would like to start seeing, and this I think will happen eventually, DeMar's gonna get that aggressive streak back, get to the line like he was, because that really helped the Raptors, kind of slow the tempo down a little bit when they needed to, get some points, keep defenses honest. We just need to see a little bit more of that, I think, over the next little while.
And that's what was maddening about that game too, or frustrating as a fan, because they outscored them by 21 in that third quarter, right? And just feels like, maybe it's a subconscious thing, but it feels like they just let up, and I'm sure they're not saying, oh, we can relax now, they're a crappy team. They're not thinking that, but just subconsciously there's going to be something where you dominate that much and you fall back a little bit. It's a matter of being conscious of it and just knowing that any team can come back anytime. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know with Toronto if it's just a case of they kind of got hot early and they kind of gained that confidence, and then they feel like there's teams that they can easily beat, but then it's not that easy anymore. So I don't know if it's just, I mean, if it's just it's gone to their head early, and I mean, just some guys haven't shown up, and obviously we'll talk about it with like Terrence Ross. I mean, he's had a rough stretch, and Coach Casey had to pull him out of the starting lineup. And against Milwaukee, he started Vasquez and brought T. Ross off the bench, and they pulled out the win, 92-89. What did you think of that move by Coach Casey against Milwaukee?
You want to go ahead there, or Yui?
Oh, no, go for it.
Okay. So I thought that was one of those moves where he kind of needed to do it because he wasn't getting enough. This Coach Casey, he just wasn't getting enough out of Terrence Ross in that position. So I didn't think it was a bad move. I mean, ultimately, who else are you going to kind of put in there? That it's either James Johnson or it's Gravis Vasquez. So I think that at least gives them a bit more consistency, ball handling, and like playmaking in that starting unit. And ultimately, it paid off because they've managed to squeak it out. And if I'm not mistaken, T. Ross had some key baskets down the stretch in that game.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So he seemed to kind of step in and make the most out of his opportunity off the bench.
Yeah, and sometimes when a team or a player gets into a little rut, you just do something, anything to shake it up, and I guess that was part of the point, like starting spot or whatever is not guaranteed. Maybe you're not getting that. Maybe the chemistry isn't there with particular players or whatever. So just try anything to get them going again.
Right.
And yeah, from a mental and just playing standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, just to strike a fire under him. Just as like, hey, you're a starting shooting guard. I mean, your job isn't guaranteed, so we can easily just take you out, plug someone else in, and I mean, and it worked. I mean, at 16 points, and even that game, DeMar was 0 for 9. Lowry was 8 for 25. So the fact that those two key guys kind of struggled, and the Raptors still pulled out the win. I mean, obviously, what Coach KC did had an impact, so they could pull out the win on the road. And then we'll talk about last night's game against the Grizzlies, 92-86 loss. The Raptors look good, man. For 3 quarters, they played up with Memphis, but then the fourth quarter, they just pulled away. And if you see the 3-point statistics, the Raptors were 5 for 28. It was. I mean, we always talked about it before, but like settling for that 3-pointer, if it's not falling, sometimes you just gotta move away from it. But I mean, it was just another struggle for Toronto last night. What did you guys think?
Yeah, just that. The fact that they were hanging in there early, they were playing some quality basketball, but they seemed to lose steam late and weren't able to overcome the push by the Memphis Grizzlies, especially in that fourth quarter. They seemed to regress a little bit defensively. I didn't like a lot of the. I don't know what word I'm really looking for. It wasn't the effort. Maybe it was an execution on defense isn't really the right word either. But the closeouts, like how they were really playing guys, they seemed to get burned on some, pick and rolls, and I didn't think that they were pressuring guys hard enough on jump shots, getting out to guys early enough, really forcing the issue on the defensive end. Because if your shot's not falling, you got to give that extra effort on the defensive end. That's the only way you're going to stop teams from scoring, to try and give yourself a chance on the other end. So I thought that was lacking in the fourth quarter, but something to build on, something to kind of look back at the tape and go back and work on it in practice, essentially.
That's the thing too, though. In those situations, the defense was the best that I've seen them play in a while for the first 3 quarters there. But I think it just starts to catch up with you a little bit. Like the two ends of the court supposed to be separate. A lot of times it's just interconnected. Like when your shots aren't falling, you're not going to get that natural rush of energy to help you on the defensive end. And I think that was part of it. It's just whether you like it or not, you just start to get a little discouraged. And even though it feels like you're giving the full effort, then you're just not jazzed as much about it as you would be if the shots were falling. So.
Mm-hmm.
And like Leo was saying too, man, you see a game where the Raptors are hitting like 50% of their threes, and then you see this game for 3 quarters, they're like playing amazing defense. If they could just put the two together in the same games, that would be sweet. It would be,
Yeah, no, you go ahead, keep going.
Oh no, that was pretty much it.
I was just about to say it was just weird because, like you said, Huey, like being able to kind of put both together at the same time, you're probably going to result in the W's like you were getting at the beginning of the year. And statistically, in that game, they shot 31.8% from the field, but they had their second consecutive game of 20-plus offensive rebounds in the game. Like, that's crazy, you think that if your team is getting 20 offensive boards in the game, you're getting yourself a lot of chances. They actually had their most free throw attempts in that game. Now, the referees weren't the greatest. I don't think they didn't call the greatest game for either team, for the Grizzlies or the Raptors. But the Raptors had the most free throw attempts since December 28th, if I'm not mistaken, as well in that game with like 32. So, there was positives, but it didn't go from opening tip to to final buzzer, and they got to have that complete effort in order to have these positives help them out and result in a win. And now we've lost 8. Well, the Raptors have lost 8 of their last 11 games.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely been a struggle. The good thing was get to see some JV in the fourth quarter last night, which was which was a good sign. I mean he did struggle against the bigs and Gasol and Randolph, but the fact that he's getting a bit more minutes in the fourth quarter it's a good sign from Coach Casey. But yeah, I mean the Raptors just got to get back on that train and get their confidence back, and now that DeMar's back in the picture, Lowry should be able to kind of take some time. Take some time off in terms of not playing so many minutes. So hopefully they can get back to where they were at the beginning of the season. In terms of the schedule, I'll just bring it up here. They play the Sixers again, and then it's the Pistons, Indiana, Sacramento, and Brooklyn. So those are some. I mean, you don't have any big powerhouses in that next stretch of games. So
the Pistons right now are playing like one.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
they're playing like one, man.
Yeah, no, they actually.
Jennings, 21 assists.
Oh, I know, that was crazy. But they had the one-game slip-up actually against the Pelicans. Anthony Davis was playing, so the Raptors have no excuse, but the Pistons, Anthony Davis was amazing that game. But either way, after that game, they had a meeting and that Brandon Jennings put together and said, we can't have any more of those games where we just take it completely off. And then, I was worried that they'd go back to old habits, but then, they've been playing the same way. That was just a one-dud game. Anyway, this isn't a Pistons podcast. Get out of here with that garbage.
It's good to talk about the opposition. It's good to talk about the opposition. Not at any point do we want to overlook a team because it's
true.
NBA. And
they're going to be. I think they're going to make the playoffs in the bottom 5 to 8, and I think they'll be a tough out for whoever they play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks here. Philly, Detroit, Indy, Sacramento, Brooklyn. 3 of those are on the road. It's kind of like away, home, away, home, away. So we'll see how the rest of the stretch goes. And but yeah, let's talk about the winnings of the week. We're talking about the top Canadian NBA talent in the NBA. I guess first let's talk about Andrew Wiggins, and let's talk about the BBVA Rising Star. It looks like they're going to have USA versus the world this year. What do you? I see Sean's face now. You don't like it, do you?
Xenophobia at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I think about USA versus the world in almost any competition. It's like, cool. Like, I get it. You think that there's more Americans, and so that you can have like an American versus world thing. Like, I get that, but I don't see there's anything wrong with sophomores versus freshmen, so to speak, right? Like the rookies versus the second-year players. That had gone well, and there's been plenty of years where the rookies have beat the sophomores. So, I didn't think there was anything wrong with that format. I don't know about you guys. Well, I'll see what you guys have to say.
What do you think about it?
I don't see it personally.
So between the rookie and sophomores, and then the draft thing that they've done the past couple of years. Between like Shaq and Chuck and stuff.
Yeah, right. Because it was Team Shaq versus Team Chuck.
Yeah. And then this came
that up for a couple of years now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, out of those two, which did you prefer? I mean, I still like the rookie sophomores. But.
I just like flat. Yeah, I just like the original way, the flat rookies versus the sophomores. The Shaq and Chuck thing, like, I'm not sure if the NBA started that or if it was the Pro Bowl started that. I think the NFL might have jumped on the NBA's, wagon there. But, having the coaches kind of like draft players. But Yeah, I'm with you, Romy. I definitely like just the rookies versus the sophomores. It's a competition thing. Hey, we're the young bucks on the, new on the block. Let's see what we can do against you guys were these dudes last year. Like, let's see what we can do against you. It's a bit of a pride thing. Like, there was kind of something to play for, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it pitted some teammates against each other, which would have been pretty cool too. But yeah, I liked it the way it was. Like back when Darius Miles was in it. You know what I mean? Like, right? Those days, the early 2000s, right? Like that. I liked it then.
Yeah. All this old fandangled new USA versus
the crusty old man.
What are they thinking?
The crusty old man. He doesn't like this new stuff. But it's not even that I don't like the new stuff. I love new stuff. Yeah. It's just I don't see how USA versus the world makes it a better competition. Do you guys think it makes it better, or like I don't know what the reason behind it.
I kind of like both other ways better too. It's like who can pick the better talent between Shaq and Chuck, and the sophomore slumping or the rookie's gonna show them up, or either way it was good with me. So.
Yeah, but to be honest, I'll be interested to see how.
There's cool storylines to both of those ways. But USA versus the world, it's kind of like, like I said, man.
So talent-wise, though, I mean, I have no idea who will be in it, but talent-wise, is it even between the two? I'm sure Wiggins and Olynyk obviously will represent Canada, and Mirotic will be on there from the Bulls. Mm-hmm. I don't know who else will be a rookie sophomore for international players. Off the top of my head. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, once I see it on paper on the rosters, I'd be interested to see if the talent itself would be fair between the two teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I need to see some names as well.
But yeah, anyhow, Wiggins has been playing awesome. You got some Wiggins updates?
Yeah, I just gotta say, Winnington of the week to Wiggins for being in the slam dunk contest, right?
Is that official though? I
think anyway. We think.
Okay.
His
dad said.
Yeah, via Hoops Hype Canada, through his dad Mitchell, it's been said that Andrew Wiggins is in it, and Slam Magazine, they rolled with it, so we were tweeting that, and so were they.
Yeah, maybe it's a whole case of let's make the rumor the truth, and run with it, right? The polite Canadian isn't gonna not do what everyone's saying that he said he was gonna do. So.
His teammate Zach LaVine's in it, right?
Yeah, that'd be man.
I'd like Giannis Antetokounmpo's in it. Victor Oladipo's in it. So we got some high flyers.
And one of the Brooklyn center, what's his name? Plumlee.
Plumlee. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, he's in that as well.
Yeah,
he's got some hops. Those guys, both the Plumlees have some hops. So I don't know. I've never seen any dunk contest footage from either of them, but I'm sure they can come up with something pretty creative. But who knows what the format will be this year anyhow.
As long as they don't have that foolish team freestyle round, that was so confusing. I mean, obviously I was in last year, but we were at a dinner and we were just watching it on the big screen, kind of in behind while we were finishing up our meal and stuff, have some drinks. And when that happened, everyone was kind of confused, okay, so is this a warm-up thing? It was very strange. And then that was kind of the end of it. It was just very strange. So I'm hoping that they do away with that. I don't know if either of you, I don't even know if they've announced the format yet. But yeah, I was not a fan of that team concept at all. Just make it individual like it's always been.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's an individual thing, right? So.
Yeah, like a team dunk thing. Okay.
And I'm definitely not a fan of fan voting for the dunks. I like the old school. Sure. I like the old school judges.
Agreed. because it just turns into a super popularity contest, right? Like if a guy really shows out and has some great dunks, but he's not really, as well known or something, or from like a smaller market team, that dude has no chance of winning at all.
And the winner of the dunk contest is Kyle Lowry. What? Devlin!
I mean, I don't know if there's any other Canadians we want to shout out. I know like Tristan Thompson had a couple good games when Love was injured, but now with Love back, he's kind of moved back to the bench, and obviously Cleveland has Mozgov starting at center as well, so kind of less minutes for Tristan Thompson. Did you read the story too? I mean, I just kind of read the headline, but he turned down like some big contract.
Oh, really?
Or like a 4-year extension or something.
Okay, the team offered him an extension. He turned it down, eh?
Yeah.
The test free agency, huh?
He's going to Toronto.
Yeah. And I mean, Olenek has been steady as well. 11-7, 14-9 in the past couple games. So he's I'm sure. Yeah, we'll see him at All-Star Weekend as well.
For sure.
I'm sure for the BBVA Rising Stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's it. I mean, if you guys don't have anybody else for the podcast. So be sure to check out the blogs, hoopjunkies.com, hoopheadsnorth.com. Kyle Lowry, hashtag NBA Ballot, is in the All-Star game. We're definitely excited. Follow us on Twitter, at Romeo Aquino, at Sean Francois, at Yumi the Jock. We out.